let's move to a new topic, and that is Matplotlib. Okay, so Matplotlib, it's a library used for data visualization. It is a library that is used for data visualization. But my question to you guys is that why we need data visualization? What is the requirement of data visualization?
When we want to present findings to the people who do not know the core of data science, so the data visualization will help, like stakeholders, managers.
It is easy to notice patterns and extract insights from visual data rather than numerical. I think you're in mute.
No, I'm not listening to what you're saying. Okay, so basically, data visualization is getting an insight from a particular data so that we can explain, okay, we can explain or we can give the more intuition of the data which we cannot say by a text. Okay, so that is why we need a visualization. So it's a saying, right, that image represents 1,000 words. So this is the exact thing of what a visualization does. Okay, let's try to understand it. Let's say, okay, before that, to work with Matplotlib, you have to install Matplotlib. So pip install Matplotlib. But everyone will be having this, okay? Because Anaconda by default gives you Matplotlib installed automatically. So this will be already there in your laptop. Now, how to use this library? So you have to import it. So import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Okay, matplotlib.pyplot as plt and execute it. Once you have done that, so basically as plt is the alias name that is used by everyone. Okay, so this is the common alias name that is used by everyone. So let's say I have a two data here. So I have a weekday and I have a temperature. Okay, now by seeing this data, can you guys tell me that on which weekday it was a minimum temperature and on which weekday it was a maximum temperature?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
This is the data that you have, right? So we have weekday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and below is the corresponding temperature I have. So my question to you, you guys, is that on which weekday it was a maximum temperature and on which weekday it was a minimum temperature?
Third day.
Week 7 it is minimum.
Third week highest, seventh week lowest. Third weekday and seventh weekday, sorry.
Yes. Okay. Now this is a very small data. Still, you are taking a lot of time to give the answer, right? So just imagine if it's a large amount of data. Now, what we can do is we can plot this data to get a more insight on this. How? So you can use something called as plt dot plt is nothing but the name. Okay, plt dot show, sorry, plt dot plot, and you have to write x and y. So x, so okay, one thing you have to understand, guys, that every graph we plot now, we have to give the x and y axis. Okay, we have to give the x and y axis, and there's one more thing, that we cannot go beyond 2 dimension. Okay, in Matplotlib or Seaborn or whatever visualization library you plot, we cannot go more than 2 dimension. So it can be either 2 dimension or 1 dimension. Okay, now whenever you plot a graph, we have to give 2 axes, that is an x-axis and a y-axis. So here also, let's give x-axis as weekday and let's give temperature as the y-axis. And once you execute this, this is the C. Now the data what was in the number format, now it is in a graphical format. Now quickly, can you say me that on which weekday it was the maximum temperature? by this graph?
Third,
Third. And which has a minimum temperature?
seventh.
Seventh. Now how quickly you can give me the answer, right? But by this you have to look, you have to go through each of the data, you have to compare with the weekdays, and then you have to give me the answer. This is a difference of level that comes when you give the tabular data and when you give the visualized data. Okay, and this is the advantage that we have. But still guys, if I take out this graph and if I give this to a client, will he understand anything? If I take this graph and if I give to the client, will he understand anything? Will he understand anything? What is missing here?
What does this graph represent? What are these data points and all this?
Yes, so basically X label, Y label, what is this graph is all about, you have to tell everything, right? So we can do that also. How? So plt.plot, and there is something called as plt.xlabel. plt.xlabel. So you can give any label of your choice here. Let's say X label, right? So it's a weekday. So weekday. Then plt.ylabel. So it's a temperature. So temperature. So we can give a title also. How? plt.title. So it is a weekday versus temperature and execute it. Now what you can give is you can give the axis to the graph. So I've given the axis name. Now this is the full graph that I can give to a particular client, or I can show this in a PPT or whatever I want to do. You can do very easily here. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, good. So, okay. Now you can change the color of the graph also. Okay, for example, let's say plt.plot. I will copy the same thing. Now inside this, what we can do is we can give different parameters to change the color, to change the line style, to change the line width. Okay, so whatever you want to change, you can change it. For example, if you want to change a color, so color is equal to green. Execute it and see, color has turned to green. Similarly, if you want black, you write black here and it will turn to black. Okay, so you can use a color parameter to give the color to the lines. If you want to give a color plus, let's say you want a different line styles. Okay, so what I will do is, so guys, this is this what I'm writing here. No, this is because of the documentation. I remember it. Okay, if you do shift tab, you will not get a much answer here. It is totally a argument and a keyword argument. So if you want it, you have to search on a net. So pyplot. Okay, so pyplot I have. So let's see documentation. Okay, so if I scroll down, so these are the different parameters that you can use. Ag filter, alpha, animated. Okay, so everything has a meaning here. Okay, now see different markers that you can use. So these are the characters that you can use to give a different markers. So dot, comma. Dot means point marker, comma means pixel marker, O means circle marker. Okay, if you scroll more down, then there is something on a line style that you can give. So hyphen represents something, double hyphen represents something, hyphen and a dot represents something, and a colon represents something. If you scroll more down, so there will be a colors. So either you can go with this abbreviation or you can go with the full name here. Okay guys, so you have to make a habit of reading the documentation, because there are a lot of things to read the documentation here guys. Okay, so if I come here, let's say if I want to change the line style, so line style is equal to, let's say I want to use hyphen, execute it and see, it is 2 dashed lines. If you want to change the marker, okay, so what you can do is marker is equal to O. So, okay, not O, it is, so, yeah. So see, at every point, there will be a marker now. So this is how you beautify your graphs with different colors or whatever you want to make a different styles. So what I will do is I will copy this and I will paste here as a reference point. Okay, so whatever you want to study means if you want to read a documentation, you can read the documentation from here. So there are a lot of parameters to play with. So as you can see, so figure, fill style, grid, in layout, label, there are n number of things that you can play with. Okay, and I want everyone to do the experiment on this. So it's very important that you guys should know how to read the documentation, okay? Because documentation is the thing that will help you in the future. Because I will be not be there always in the future to tell you, okay, this, that. Even I, for some of the application, I see a documentation. It's not like that I have mastered it. See, mastering is not an important part here, okay? You should know how to code it and you should know how to understand it. So that's why documentation is very important. So let's try to move to a different section now. So let's say now, okay, now instead of giving this color, black, line style, or a marker, if you come to a documentation again, okay, and if I scroll down, so what there's something called as format string. Okay, so instead of giving different parameters, we have something called as format string. So you can give format string in this format also. For example, let's say format string. So instead of giving different parameters like color, line style, marker, if you know how the format string works, so what you can go do is you remove this part and you can write in a form of format string. So format string is what? Marker, line, and color. So I will copy this and I will just put here for a reference. So you can give marker, line, and color. So let's say marker I want as O, line I want as dash, and color I want as C. Execute it and automatically everything will be read from here and it will be done automatically for you. So instead of writing the different parameters here, that color equal to black, line style equal to this, you can just use something called as a format string. Okay, and this can be in any order, guys. Okay, here it is written marker, line, and color. It can be color, line, and marker also. It can be in any order. Okay, it can be in any order. What I mean to say here is that first, let's say you want to give a color. Okay, great. I can give the color. Then you want to give, let's say, marker. So let's say marker is this. And then what is left out? The line. I want this as a line. Execute it. And yes, it is totally accepted. So it can be in any order. And this is what you call as format string. Okay, so this is what we can do. Then if you want to increase the marker size, okay, right, let's suppose this marker size you want to increase and decrease. So there is a parameter called as marker size. So you put a comma here and put something called as marker size equal to what size you want. Let's say 20. So see, the size will be increased. If you want to decrease the size, so decrease the value. Let's say 15. So value will be decreased. So this is how you can use the marker size here. Okay, now let's say I have a data like this. Okay, so I have a days. For each day I have a minimum maximum temperature, I have a minimum temperature, and I have an average temperature. Okay, so for each days I have the minimum, maximum, and average. So let's try to plot this on a same graph. Okay, so I'm plotting this in a same graph. So basically what you have to do is
Then
plt
can you
dot,
send this data?
sorry, okay,
This
you want
data
this
date.
data. Okay, copy. Yes. So plt dot plot. So here also you have to give the x and the y axis, guys. Okay, there is nothing changing. So days, comma, maximum temperature. Now, if you want to plot everything on the same graph, you have to write everything in the same cell. So maximum temperature, this will be minimum temperature, and this will be average temperature, and execute it. Okay, days is not defined. Okay, executed. So this is the graph that you can see. Now, what is the when you plot a different graphs, there's a very important thing to distinguish between the graph. What is that?
What is represented by what, or legend as we say it?
Yes. Okay. So we call it as a legend or a key parameter where we have to give that what this orange means, what this green line means, and what this blue lines means. Okay. So when you have a multiple graphs, you have to tell the particular client or user that what each of the line represents. Then only the graph will make sense. Okay. So in that case, we have to plot something called as legends. For plotting a legend, there is a very important thing that you have to use, that for each plot, there should be something called labels. So each graph, basically you're giving a name, that this graph is a label of, let's say, maximum. This graph is a label of, let's say, minimum. Okay, and then this graph is label of, let's say, average. Okay, after giving the labels, you have to just do plt dot legend and execute it. And you will see here that now you will get a legend that, okay, blue line represents the maximum temperature, orange line represents the minimum temperature, and the green line represents the average temperature. And similarly, you can add the x and the y axis and you can complete this graph. Okay. But the important point here is that there's something called as legend also that you can put. So that what each line represents, you can give that line also. So guys, still is clear? Okay, great. Now, this what you can see here. So legend is present at this location, right? Now my question is, why at this location? Why not any other location? Anyone knows the answer?
It
By default.
automatically selects which is the empty place and places it there.
Exactly. Okay. So there is a parameter in legend that when you try to don't put anything here, so by default the location is best. The meaning of this is that it will try to find out the empty place here and it will try to place automatically the legend. So that's why it is best. But let's say if you want to plot in some other location, so there is something called as upper right, upper left that you can use. For example, location is called upper right and execute it. So see, it will be on the upper right. Similarly, you can put upper left, upper right, upper left. You can put anything of your choice and it will be placed accordingly. Okay. So this is how you can use it. So by default, if you don't use anything, it's a location best. So that's why it finds out the empty place and it tries to place the legend automatically there. But if you want to place at some other location, yes, you are welcome to do that. And yes, if you want a grid, so you just do here plt.grid, and your graph will be grid wise now. Okay, so you can enable or disable the graph using this grid function. Now what we'll do is, now we will try to understand the different kinds of graphs. For example, bar chart, okay, or a bar graph, histogram, pie chart, scatter plot. So these kind of graphs, now we will try to understand it. So the first graph that we're gonna see is bar chart. Okay, it's a bar chart. So let's say you have a data here. Okay, and bar chart, guys, remember, okay, in a bar chart, we have to give X and a Y axis. There is no second thought on this, but one data should be categorical and other data should be continuous. Again, I will repeat, in a bar graph, your X axis should be categorical and a Y axis should be continuous. Then only this particular bar chart will make a sense. Okay. So if I execute this, now let's say I have to plot a bar plot on this. So what I can do is plt.bar. Okay, plt.bar. And inside a bracket, you have to use the X and the Y. That is company. Company spelling is correct. Company. Copy. Company, comma, revenue. And execute it. Now this is the bar plot that we have. So by this graph, can you tell me that which company had the maximum revenue? So Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook. Okay, this is the abbreviation that I have used. So yeah, which company has the maximum revenue?
Amazon.
Amazon. And which company had the minimum revenue?
Facebook.
Okay, so these kind of data you can easily categorize using the bar chart, and you can give the answer very easily. So this is what we call as bar chart. You can plot a horizontal bar plot also if you want. So what you can do is you can do bar of H and execute it. So it will be a horizontal plot. So according to you, it's totally your choice. What you want to show the client. You want to show the client a horizontal or a vertical bar, it's totally up to you. But that graph should make a sense at the end. That is a very important part. Okay, you can plot any graph of your choice, but that graph should make a sense to a client. And this is what we call as a bar chart or a bar plot. So guys, the important point here now is not plotting the graph, as you can see here. Okay, so if you want to plot a sum graph, you have to use a direct function. The important point in visualization is your thinking skills. So if I give you some use case, how you will plot it, it's not the coding part I'm talking about. Okay, so you have to think that which graph will look more beautiful, which graph will give more insight. So that is a thinking part that you have to do. Because once you know, okay, for this we have to do a pie chart, then you will get a lot of coding for pie chart. Okay, so visualization is not about coding, guys. It's all about thinking. Okay, so that's why if you notice bar plot, BAR, and you give X and Y and your work is done. It's very simple. Coding wise, it's very simple. The only thing is the thinking skills that you have to increase when you try to do a visualization. So this is what we call as bar plot. The next one that we're gonna see is histogram. Okay. Now histogram is a special kind of graph where in histogram, let me write here for you guys. In histogram, we only give the x-axis. The y parameter is automatically the frequency, guys. Okay. So we only give the x-axis and y-axis is calculated automatically. So you don't have to provide the y-axis in the histogram. Okay, let's try to understand a use case. Let's say you work in a field of data science and you're working on a field of medical domain right now. So what I will do is, so let's suppose I'm a manager. Now I will tell my data scientist team that, okay, go to this particular hospital and try to get me around 13 to 15 samples of blood sugar level. Okay, 13 to 15 samples of blood sugar level. So I will go there to a hospital and I will collect around 13 to 15 samples of blood sugar level. For example, these are the different points that we have covered. So the team came to me and they will give me, okay, these are the points that I have selected. These are the samples that we have selected. So we have blood sugar 113, 85, 90, and so on. Okay. Now my question is to find out that which generation is healthy or which gender is healthy, or how many people in this particular area is affected by the sugar level, or how many of them are normal, or how many of them are pre-diabetic and diabetic. Okay, so we have to categorize into three parts. Based on this, we have to categorize in three parts: that how many patients are normal, how many patients are pre-diabetic, and how many patients are diabetic. So the first thing that you should know is about domain knowledge, that okay, the range of the pre-diabetic people and diabetic people. So as I am not wrong, okay, as far as know, the range of the normal is from 70 to 100. The range of the pre-diabetic is from 100 to 125, and whoever has a blood sugar level about 25, so they are diabetic. Diabetes 125 plus. Okay. Now I want to see that how many people fall into this range, how many people falls into this range, and how many people falls into this range. Now this can be achieved using something called as histogram. So basically what you have to do is you have to just do plt.hist, and inside this you have to just put the blood sugar level. That's it, because the frequency will be automatically calculated for you guys. So if I execute this, see, this is the histogram that I have. So from this histogram, can you tell me that how many people are normal, how many people are pre-diabetic, and how many people are diabetic? From this diagram, what you can see right now, can you tell me? So on the left hand side, we have a count or a frequency. On the bottom, we automatically divide into 10 size of each bin. So 10 range
Normal.
basically. So 10 range. So normal is how much?
4.
4. What about pre-diabetic?
2.
2. What about diabetic?
4.
4. Okay. So this is the data that we have. Let's try to verify it. So 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 2, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 samples, but here you can give me answer of only 10. So where are the 3 people?
Normal, I think 7 are there.
Okay, so basically the problem here is that this graph, what you're plotting here, is not a proper one. Why? Because in a histogram, there is a parameter called as bin. Okay, in histogram, there is a parameter called as bin. So what bin will do is, so let's talk about bin now. So bin by default is 10. The meaning of this 10 is that between the minimum and the maximum range, the minimum is 77 and the maximum 150. So it will divide into 10 equal sizes bin. So 77 to 84 will be one bin. Then from 84 to something. So as you can see here, see this data. This data, as you can see here. So 77 to 84 is one bin. 84 to 91 is another bin. 91, 98, another bin. 98 to 106, another bin, and so on. Okay, like this, you will be having 10 bins. Now, among these 10 bins, if you notice here, From 77 to 84, I have 3 people. So this is a count of each bin. So 77 to 84, I have 3 people. From 84 to 91, I have 3 people. And from 91 to 98, I have 1 people. So from 77 to 100, I have 7 people. So what is the problem? What is happening is that there's a division here, but you cannot see that because both are on the same level. So that's why you thought, okay, this as a single line, but no, this is 3 and 3 that is hidden, which you cannot see. So that is a part that you missed out here. So actually from 77 to 100, there are 7 people, not 4 people. Okay, and that is not your problem also, that is a graphical problem. So what we can do is, in the histogram, we can give our own bin size. What I mean to say is, so you put bins is equal to, let's say the first category will be from 70 to 100, then from 100 to 125, and then 125 to 150. So basically what you are doing is you are telling histogram that I will plot my own bins. Don't take your bin size. So don't take 10. So I will plot my custom bin size. So 70 to 100 will be one bin size. 100 to 125 will be one bin size, and 125 to 150 will be one bin size. So if I execute this, now say this. Now it will give you a correct answer. So see, from 70 to 100, there are 7 people. So normal are 7. Then from 1 to 125, there are 2 people. So diabetes, so that is pre, there are 2 people. And from diabetic, from 125 to 150, as you can see, there are 4 people. So diabetic, there are 4 people. So 7 plus 4 plus 2 is 13. So this is how you can give your own data or own bin size, guys. Now, this is not where the histogram stops, guys. Okay, let's say again that there's a new requirement that I have now. Okay, and the requirement is that instead of collecting the overall sample, collect a men's and a women's sample differently, so that we can check that how many among the men and women who are the fittest, or who is not fit, or who has the more problem. Okay, so in that case, what my team will do is they will go to the particular hospital and they will collect 2 samples now. One will be for a sugar for a man, and one will be for a sugar for a woman.
Can you send this data, Hassan?
Yes. Okay. Now you have to do a comparison between the 2 of them now. So you can do that. You can do that stuff very easily in a histogram. How? So what you can do is plt.hist. Here in a form of a list, you can give 2 data: blood sugar men, comma, blood sugar woman. Okay. After doing that, what you can do is you can bins. So bins will obviously remain for same for all the gender, right? So it's nothing like that. Okay, blood sugar level for a woman will be different and for a man will be different. No, it will be same only. So bins will be same. There is no second thought on this. Now what you can give here is you can give a color to different bins. So let's, for example, for a man, let's give green. Okay, sorry. For a man, let's give green, and for a woman, let's give orange. Okay, and then you can give a label here. So obviously what green and orange represents, we have to give that in a form of the legend also, right? So labels. So labels is, let's say, men and women, simple, and woman. Execute it. Oh, there's some problem. Let's see. Rectangle has no property labels. Okay, so I think it will be label then. LABEL. Execute it. Yes, perfect. Now, as you can see here, so basically what is happening is this histogram is plotted between 2 categories now. Okay, so plt.legend. Okay, so the green one is for a man and the orange one is for a woman. Now you can do a comparison that at how many people are in the diabetic range, how many people are in the pre-diabetic range, and how many people are in a normal range. You can compare between the two gender and you can come to a conclusion very easily. So this is how you can plot a two histogram just to compare which one is better, which one is not better. This is what a histogram looks like, guys. Try it, everyone, try it. If you have tried it and there is no doubt, write clear in the chat box about histogram. So I think it's clear to everyone now. So this is the histogram that we have. Then let's move to the next plot. And the next plot is pie chart. Okay, so pie chart is one of my favorite chart. I don't know why I find it favorite, but yeah, we have something called as pie chart. So basically this pie chart, I got an idea to talk you this graph because I was using an application when I was in Bangalore. And that application, I used to track my daily activities or how much I used to spend, okay, so that I can be in a limit. So that particular app is used to give me in a form of a pie chart, okay. So I got the same idea so that I can show to you. For example, let's say you have expenses values. Let's say you have spent 14. So these are the arbitrary values, okay. So 600, 300, and 410 and 250. So basically you have to type that, okay, for home rent you have spent this much, for food you have spent this much, for phone and internet bill you have spent this much. So these are the different things that you have to give, and you have to give the value. For example, so we have the value also. So let me copy it and let me paste also. Okay, so these are the values that we have. So for home rent, there was 1400, food 600, phone bill 300, car 410, and other utilities 250. So what you can do is you can plot a pie plot. How? So plt.pie, and the first is the values that you have to give, comma, you have to give the labels. Labels is equal to the label that you have selected. Copy and paste and execute it. Once you do it, and when you scroll down, you will see everything in a form of a pie chart now. So by this pie chart, by seeing this pie chart, can you tell me that on which particular area I have spent the most?
Home rent.
Okay, it is home rent. And which area I have spent the least?
Other utilities.
Okay, so now as you can see, there is a type. It looks like from the naked eye, it looks like that there's a tie between a phone bill and other utilities. Okay, if you see the data here, then of course you can clearly say that which one is the less one. But if you see only the graph, then most of you will have a confusion between other utilities and phone bill. Now what we can do is, in a pie chart, there is a very famous thing that is called as a percentage that you can show for each pie chart. Okay, if you have a question, can we increase this particular chart? So yes, there's something called as radius parameter that you can play with. So radius is equal to, let's say, 10, and execute it. Okay, so the graph will be a much bigger one. See, okay, it's not that I wanted. Okay, see, the graph is much bigger now. Okay, and now if you want to put the percentage sign here, so what you can do is, there is something called as auto PCT. And now guys, the problem with the auto PCT, the syntax is a bit weird here. I totally understand why they're doing it, because behind the scene they are doing some kind of regex or some kind of stuff. So that's why they have done like this. But yes, the syntax is a bit weird. So auto PCT, in a quotes, you have to put 2% sign. Then inside again this, you have to put a value, let's say 0.1 and F. And then again percentage sign. Okay, so that was a problem. So basically you have to put 3 percentages altogether and a value here. So the meaning of this is, if I scroll down, Okay, so see, you will get a percentage. Now the meaning of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 is that how many decimal place you want. So let's say if I give 2 here, so it will be up to 2 decimal places. See, 47.30, 88.45, 85. If you want up to 3 decimal place, you put 3 here and it will be up to 3 decimal places. So that is why we have 0.3f. So 0.3f means that you want up to 3 floating point numbers. Okay, if you don't want any floating point numbers, you put 0.0, execute it, and there will be no floating point numbers. So it will be a proper integer. And it will be a proper integer. Okay, so this is how you can put the percentage also. Now, there is a one more parameter that you can use, which I have seen a lot. And I think if you also familiar with pie chart, you will also see a lot that part, and that is the explode part, where the few of the pie charts are exploded out. It is highlighted so that you can focus on that. Okay, for example, let's say if you are showing a corona cases, so which particular city has a more, you can highlight that pie, right? So same thing we can do with the help of explode also. So basically what you can do is there is something called explode parameter. So explode, and initially you can put 0 0 0 0 0. So basically the length of this explode should be the length of the values that you have. So 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so when it's 0 0 0, there is no change. But let's say if I increase to 0.01, now what will happen is the first one, that is the home rent label, will be exploded out from the pie chart. So as you can see, there is a small boundary that is getting created now. So let's say 0.4. So see, it is exploded out. So from this, we can say that, okay, this is the very highlighted part. So basically home rent is a maximum that I spend on. So you can explode it. Okay, so you can explode. This is, let's say, the maximum part where I spend the most, I can put 0.8, and the least part I can put as 0.03. Execute it. So basically these two will be exploded from this particular pie chart. So home rent is a maximum and other utilities is a minimum. So this is how also you can display the graph, guys. So this is the end of pie chart. Any doubts, any queries, please go ahead and ask. If you want this data to be practiced, copy and paste. The next plot that we have is scatter plot. Okay, one of the very simplest graph, but one of the very important graph in a life of data scientist. Okay, and why I'm saying that you will understand in the, of course, in the stats class, but I will give you a small glimpse of it. Okay, so x and y. Okay, we have x and y, very simple, no change. Okay, now to plot a scatter plot, what you can do is you can do plt dot scatter. So scatter plot is nothing but when we used to be in a higher secondary, we were giving the x and the y axis, and we used to plot that 1,5. So where is 1,5? 1 towards the x and 5 towards the y. We have to plot a point, right? That is the same thing what a scatter plot is. So x comma y, executed, and this is a scatter plot. Okay, but the significance of scatter plot is it tries to give us the correlation between the two variables. Correlation is nothing but, for example, let's take it. So let's say x and y. Okay, when x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 4. When x is 3, y is, let's say, 6. When x is 4, y is, let's say, 8. Okay, so if I plot this same graph, so let me show you, let me plot it. So x is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, let's go till, okay, and then this will be what? So I will use a lambda function. Okay, so I think everyone knows that. No, I will use a list comprehension. I think everyone knows that. So for I in x, so it is basically multiplied by 2, right? So each I is multiplied by 2. Okay, now what I will do is I will plot the two graphs here inside this x and y. So this is the line that you can see now. Now, can you tell me if I am increasing the y, sorry, if I increasing the x axis, what is happening to y?
Increasing by 2 times.
Increasing linearly.
It is increasing, right? So when the x is increasing, y is also increasing. So this is what you call as correlation. When one of the variable increases, the other variable also increases. So that we can easily find out with the help of a scatter plot. As you can see the diagram, it is a, when this is increasing, this is also increasing. When x increases and y decreases, this is called as negative correlation, where one value increases, the other decreases. So directly proportional to indirectly proportional to, that concept is exactly what I'm talking about. So x is directly proportional to y. So when x increases, y also increases. X is inversely proportional to y. So x increases, y decreases. So these kind of relationship we can find out with the scatter plot. Although you will study a lot and lot in the future classes about this in a stats class, but I am just giving you a small glimpse about that. So this scatter plot looks a very simple graph, but it gives a very, very important information about the variables. Okay. Now these are the different plots that we have. So we have seen about a normal plot. We have seen about a bar plot. We have seen about a histogram plot. We have seen about the pie plot, and we have seen about the scatter plot. Okay. So these plots, what I have discussed you will be using this kind of plot in some or the other way. Okay. So this is matplotlib, what about is all about. Okay. Now there is a one more topic that I want you guys to note that, and that is called a subplot. Subplot. Now subplot is nothing but right now if you notice, for every cell I am plotting different plot, right? In a same cell you want 3 plots side by side or one below the other. Then how can we do that? We can achieve that using this with something called a subplot. So what I will do is, first I will write the code and then I will explain you how subplot works. Okay, so let's say you have a year income and expense like this. Okay, and you want to plot a two different plot but on a same place. Okay, so what you can do is, so first guys I will write a code and then I will explain you. So plt dot subplot 2, 1, 1, and then let's say I want a bar plot here. Perfect. So there is no problem. Then there is in year comma income. Okay, then copy this and let's say I want a scatter plot where year and expense. Okay, and this will be set and executed. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm plotting two graphs at the same location now. Okay, so one graph is on the top, another graph is bottom. So how this we are doing? Let's try to understand this. So for that, what I will do is yes. So let's try to understand that this right hand side, this empty place is the place where you draw a graph. Okay. So when you do plt dot subplot, so you give 3 numbers here, that is 2, 1, 1. Now the first two numbers, that is 2, 1, represents that how many rows and columns you want. So I want 2 rows and 1 columns. I want 2 rows and 1 column. So 2 rows and 1 column. So as you can see, there are 2 rows and 1 column here. So row number 1, row number 2, and 1 column. Now in 2 rows and 1 column, the first area, okay, so basically these areas are divided into numbers. So this is number 1 area, this is number 2 area. So what I am saying is that in this subplot, this particular graph, that is a PLT dot bar, will go to first area. So this will go to, and it will take the first area. And similarly 2, 1, the 2 rows and 1 column, this graph will go to the second area. So that's why you can see one graph on the top and one graph on the bottom. Okay, if I clear this diagram, let's say if I do 1, 2 here and 1, 2 here. So can you tell me that how the graph will be plotted? Which direction?
Side by
Adjacent.
side, left, right.
Okay, it will be side by side. So basically this means that you want only 1 row but 2 columns. So it is side by side now. So if I execute it, it will be side by side. Okay, if I put here 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 1 and 2, how the graph will be plotted? Side by side, one below the other, how it will be plotted?
There will be 4 quadrants,
Okay,
but the bottom 2 will be empty.
but
I
the
guess.
bottom 2 will be empty. Excellent. Okay, so execute it and see basically to side by side. What about this? If I do 1, 4, then
Diagonally.
it will be diagonally. So this is how you can plot a multiple plots in a same graph, guys, in a same area. So this is a concept of subplots. Now, one of the last topic of Matplotlib is save figure. Now, yes, we have plotted, but we cannot give this Jupyter notebook to a client, right? Data, please. Okay, copy, paste. Yeah, so my point here is that this Jupyter file we cannot give to the client and we can tell him, okay, open it and execute one by one to get the answer. No, right? So we have to give this data in a form of, let's say, PPT. So if you are an analytics team, so of course we will make a PPT out of it, but somehow you have to save this diagram, right? So it's very simple. Let's suppose you want to save this scatter plot diagram so that you can explain to a client. After doing this, you just do plt.savefigure. That's it. Inside it, write a name. So scatter.png and your work is done, guys. Execute it. So if you come here, you will see scatter.png will be saved. If you open it, see the graph has been saved down. You can save graph in any manner. So you can save the graph in PDF mode also. So for example, you do PDF and execute. So here the PDF will be created. If you open it, it will be in a PDF format. See. So this is how you can save the graph also. The only thing is save figure, the name and the extension in which you want to save. So PNG, JPG, PDF, whatever extension we have for images, you can use that and you can save it. Okay. And this is how you save the graphs. And this is where your Matplotlib topic gets over. Now, we will be going with a new library and that is Seaborn. Again, if you want to install Seaborn, so pip install Seaborn and execute it. Okay. So by default, Seaborn will be installed in all the laptops because you are using Anaconda. Okay. But if it is not installed, so you can install by this, that is pip install Seaborn. Now, to work with Seaborn, you have to import Seaborn. So import Seaborn as SNS. Okay, and what we will do is we will import pandas also if needed, and we will import NumPy also if needed. Okay, execute it. Now, the beauty of Seaborn is that you can plot a very, very beautiful graphs here. Okay, it is not like Matplotlib. It's not like a traditional graph that you will draw. You can draw a very colorful and a beautiful graph. So basically, if suppose, let's say, if we spend around 15 minutes to plot the same thing on Matplotlib, in Seaborn it's just within a second. Okay, so that's why Seaborn is a very advanced library, more ahead from Matplotlib, and you will understand why I'm saying that. So in a Seaborn, what people have done is the creator of Seaborn, they have given us the basic data sets which we can load very easily. So we don't have to break our head to just download the software and use it. Okay, so if you go here, so let me cancel all the things. If you come here and if you type Seaborn data sets, the first link that you get, click on that. Okay, and click on this GitHub. So if you scroll down, you will see a lot of CSV files that is already given to us. Okay, so we don't have to break our head. Suppose, let's say, if you want to use the tip data, so you can come here in the code and you can do tips is equal to SNS dot load data set, and inside this just give the name of the CSV file, guys. So not the extension, you don't have to give the extension because extension is CSV by default. Okay, so only give the name. So tips, TIPS. So come here and type TIPS and execute it, and automatically that tips will be a data frame that you will get. So you don't have to break your head and you don't have to download or get the data set. You just do it directly from the server. It will get downloaded in a system, and this is how you can use it. So this is a tips data where you have total bill. So this is a data of a restaurant, I guess, where they have recorded each and every response from the people who came there to eat. So total bill, tips, what was the gender, whether they were smoker or not, what was the day, it was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, what was the time, and what was the size is nothing but how many people came, size of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now in Seaborn we have something called as relational plot. So SNS dot relational plot, that is REL plot. Okay, and inside this you have to pass the x-axis and y-axis. There is no second thought on this. Okay, whatever the logic we have to use in Matplotlib, the same also we have to use here. So x is equal to, let's say, total bill. Okay, and then y, let's say we will go with tips. Okay, now of course nowhere we are providing that from which data set this total bill and tips is from. So you have to give that also, data is equal to tips, and execute it. Once you execute it, this is the graph that you can see here. So total bill and the tips versus graph. Okay, so if you want to know about this particular person, let's say, can anyone tell me about this particular person which I have make around it right now? The basic information, what you get from this particular graph.
Correlation.
Sorry?
What was your question? Sorry.
My question was that, can you give me the basic insight of that particular person which I have rounded off from this graph?
The bill amount was 40
And
and
it
they tipped around 8.
Yes. Okay. So bill amount was around 40, and the total tip that he paid is what, of 7.8 or 7.9. Okay. So this is the scatter plot that you see in the Matplotlib. There is nothing different, but the difference comes here, guys. Here you don't have to give the x and the y axis. It is automatically plotted. So your two lines is automatically gone now. Okay. And the beauty of Seaborn is that in the relational plot, you can actually plot more than two information at a time. So there is a parameter called as hue, H-U-E, and you can put one more column name here. So smoker, let's say. execute it. So now what will happen is, instead of so in the previous one, you are getting two information at a time. That is the total bill and tips. Now what is happening is you are getting three information at a time. One is tips, total bill, and one more information that you are getting is a smoker. So HUE, the first thing is that it takes only the categorical variable. That's the first thing. Second thing is hue is categorizing based on color. So let me write here so that it becomes a reference for you guys. So hue, the first thing is it should be a categorical data. Okay, and hue is categorizing based on color. Okay, so right now if you see here, smoker, whether the person is a smoker or not a smoker. So if the person is a smoker, it is blue in color. If the person is not a smoker, it is in orange in color. Okay, so let's say if I want to talk about this particular person, so can you give me about basic insight about this person, guys?
His total bill is 40 and tip around 8 and he's not a smoker.
And he is a non-smoker. Okay, so this is a hue parameter that we have. Now this is not where the Seaborn stop, guys. Okay, what you can do is there is a one more parameter that you can play with, and that is, let's say, style. Okay, style. And let's say you can put actually one more column here, time. So now basically style. So style is also a categorical column and categorizing based on different styles. So as you can see here, lunch we have circle, and for dinner we have a cross button. Okay, so this is what we call as style. So now what I am doing is I am representing 4 information at a time here. It is not 2, it is not 3, 4 information at a time. So for example, let's again, if we talk about this particular person, so this person paid a total bill of 40. He paid a total tip of around 7 point something. He is a non-smoker and he came for a dinner. So you are getting 4 information at the same time. That is what a relational plot is all about. Okay. Now this is not where it stops. You can get 5 information at a time. So there is a one more parameter that you can put, and that is size is equal to size. Executed. So basically now, based on different sizes, whether the size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the size of the dots are increasing. Okay, so let's say I want to know about this particular person. Okay, I want to know about this particular person. So again, the same thing, this person is a non-smoker. He came for a dinner and the total size was 2 for this particular person. So they were 2 in a group that came for a particular thing. Okay, so you can get, so basically X and Y, yes, that is a normal, but you can give hue. Hue is based on color. So categorizing based on color. Style is nothing but categorizing based on different styles. And size is nothing but categorizing based on different size of our dots. So small size mean 1, big size 2, then more bigger is 3, then more bigger is 4, and stuff like that. Okay, and this is the beauty of relational plot, guys. Okay, now you will say that, okay, this is looking very clumsy. Agreed. Now the beauty of relational plot is that you can do something like this. For example, copy here and call and execute it. Now what you can do is you can separate out between the different categories also. So the first category is for lunch and the second category is for dinner. So now can you tell me that the maximum people came for dinner or lunch from this data? The maximum people came for dinner. Same, let's say if you want to know about the smoker, that the maximum was smoker or minimum smoker, so you can just, what you can do is you can just separate based on the column. So column is nothing but different graphs you will get based on the different categories. So smoker is yes or no, right? Execute it. So smoker is yes or no. See. So this is a beauty of Seaborn. This is a beauty of relational plot, that you can plot a lot and lot information in a same graph. I hope everyone is trying parallelly with me. So this is what a relational plot is all about. Okay, now this is what about relational plot is. Okay, now we have a scatter plot. What you have seen matplotlib, the same thing we have here also. Okay, so iris. So what I will do is I am changing the dataset purposely so that I can show you about more and more dataset. So load datasets and iris. Execute it. So if I show you, so this iris dataset is basically this is a dataset of flowers. So there are 3 flowers: Setosa and Virginica, and there's one more. Okay, so based on the sepal length, petal length, and the different length, they are categorized into different parts. Okay, now what we can do is we can plot a scatter plot. So SNS dot scatter plot, and the same thing, guys. Okay, the same thing, that x and a y, what you have learned in matplotlib, everything is same. So you have to give the x-axis. So let's say sepal length. You have to give the y-axis, and the y-axis is petal length. Okay, and of course we have to give the data also. It's not a magic that we will understand from iris. So data is equal to iris, and execute it. So see, when the sepal length increases, the petal length is also increasing. So these kind of information you can get from a scatter plot, and this is what a scatter plot is. And you can also plot a bar plot. So SNS dot bar plot. Here different categories, right? So species we can give. So remember, in bar plot, one of the columns should be a categorical data. So species, comma, and what you can give here is, let's say sepal length. And data is equal to iris. Execute it. Okay, this is y is equal to. Okay, so this is the data you got. So we have Setosa, we have versicolor, and we have Virginica. Okay, and these are the sepal length that we have. So Virginica has the maximum sepal length, followed by versicolor, then the Setosa. So this is what a bar plot that we have, guys. Okay. Now, in a Seaborn, no, we have a lot of graphs. Okay, literally a lot of graphs. For example, there is something called as categorical plot also. Okay, here you can give the x and the y and the data. So x, y, and the data types. So this is the one other type of graph that we can plot. Okay, and this is called as a categorical plot. So by this data, can you tell me on which day there was a minimum crowd?
Friday.
On Friday, there was a minimum crowd. So from this, you can take an insight and you can tell your team that, okay, on Friday, let's have a minimum force power so that we waste a less food and we take a minimum force that is required. Okay, so that's just the arbitrary thing I'm telling to you guys. Okay, so this is how the decision can be taken by the different graphs. Okay, this is what we call as a categorical plot. In a category, okay, so in a categorical plot, there's a one more parameter that we can play with, and that is jitter. Jitter is equal to false. So jitter is nothing but now it is whatever data you can see, it is everywhere scrambled, right? So if you do false, it will be in a straight line. So modifying this graph into the same thing, but everything is in a straight line. Okay, so a different parameter just to change the graph very quickly. Okay, so this is jitter equal to false. Okay, now in a categorical plot, if you do shift tab, there is something called as, let me show you if you can see that. In a categorical plot, there is something called as kind. Okay, so this graph, what you can see, it is called as a strip graph. Okay, strip graph. So on the same lines, we have different kinds of graphs. So if I scroll down, okay, so where is kind? Yes, so see, we have kind as a parameter. So the kind of plot to draw correspond to the name of a categorical axis level plotting function. So options are strip. You can use something called swan plot. You can use something called as a box plot, and you can use something called as a violin plot. Then there is a boxen plot, there's a point plot, there's a bar plot, or there's a count plot. Basically, in the same category, you can plot a different kinds of graphs. For example, okay, so I will remove this and I will put kind is equal to, let's say, swan plot, SWARM swan. So see, so same graph, but now this swan plot, what is telling is that at which location there is a maximum crowd. So at this location, there is a maximum crowd. In this location, there is a maximum crowd. In this location, there is a maximum crowd. So this information you can get from a swan plot. Then we have something called as count plot. Okay, now if you want to, so if I do here count plot, COUNT, so it will, okay, so I don't think it will work. Actually, must be none. Okay, so day, and for a count plot, one of the data should not be there. So yes, so basically it will tell you that on which day there was the maximum count of people. Okay, so on Saturday there was a maximum count of people, followed by Sunday, then Thursday, and on Friday there was a least number of people. So this is what we call as a count plot. So in a count plot, you have to give just the x-axis, y-axis will be calculated by the frequency. Okay, so this is what we have a count plot. Now there is a very important plot, and that is a box plot. Okay, one of the very important plot in a life data science. So this box plot, okay, let's take an example to understand what a box plot is, or how the box plot helps. Let's say we have how many people here right now in the group? We have 8 people. Okay, let's take an average salary of these 8 people. Okay, including me, let's take 9 people. Okay, the average salary that we get is 10 lakhs per annum. So we can conclude that the average salary of everyone here is 10 lakhs per annum. But let's say we add a 10th person, and the 10th person is Elon Musk. And the 10th person is Elon Musk. Now the average becomes 1 crore. But this is a true representation of a given sample, guys. 1 crore per annum.
No.
Okay, so Elon Musk is deviating the particular thing towards himself. So Elon Musk is a outlier here. Okay, Elon Musk is an outlier here. So that's why to detect that kind of data which is not following the trend, we can use something called as a box plot. So this black data, what you can see here, this black data, this black data, this black data, these are all outliers for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yes, in a restaurant, there can be a place where a rich people is coming, right? So these are the rich people. Yes, they are the outliers from the given population. Okay, so I will just give you the brief intro about this, nothing else. Okay, this box plot and everything you will study in the stats class. So my hands are tied up because you don't know about the stats. Okay, and it's totally fine. This everything you will again study in the stats class. So don't worry about it. Okay. So this line, what you can see, this line, everything has a meaning, guys. Okay, if you want to see it, so box plot and okay, if I go to images, so see this diagram where my cursor is. So every line that you can see has some kind of meaning. So it is called as a whiskers, minimum, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, and stuff like that. So every line that you can see on a box plot has a meaning. What is that meaning? You will study in the stats class. But box plot is one of the very, very important plot. Okay. So this is a box plot is. So box plot is a graph which is used to detect the outliers. Outliers are the data points which are deviating away from the normal population, like Elon Musk here. Okay, so yeah. So basically, then there is one more thing. So this is a count plot. This is the box plot. And we have something called as a violin plot. Okay, so violin plot. So again, this graph is, if you see this graph and if you see a Swan plot, okay, so it's the same graph, but the only thing is how it is representing is different. So in this also we can say that, okay, this area has a max number of people. This area has a max number of people. This area has a max number of people, and this area has a max number of people. So a same thing, but with a different style. So this is called as a violin plot. Okay. Now, distribution plot. Again, this graph is one of the very, very important graph. Okay. So there is, so every column, okay, every column of a data set should form a normal distribution of bell curve. Okay, so bell curve, if you want to know, this is what we call as a bell curve. Okay, this graph, images, this graph, what you can see, so every population or every data should follow this kind of curves. Okay, again, the stats topic which you will learn in the future, so don't worry about it. But distribution plot will tell you that whether the particular column is following that curve or not. How? So you can do sns.distplot. Inside this, you can put the value of x. So x is, let's say, tips data or total bill. Total bill. So tips of total bill. Execute it. Okay. There is something called as KD, that is kernel density estimator is equal to true, and execute it. So as you can see, this is the blue line that we can see. This is called as a bell curve. So this total bill is following a bell curve. Okay, so let's go to tips. There is no column called as tips. Wait, key error. Okay, I think it will be tip then. Yes, so I can see now this data is deviating a bit from the bell curve. Okay, so each column, the machine learning rule is that each column should be a proper bell curve. If not, then you should make it a proper bell curve. Okay, so there's a lot of technique, that there's a logarithm, square root, and stuff like that, but that you will again study in the stats class. But KD distplot. This plot is a plot which will tell you whether the particular column is following the bell curve or not, or following the data or not. So if you have a normal curve like this, so it's a proper data. If it's something like this, then this is right skewed data. Then there is a left skewed data. Okay, so this is the actual one which we want. This is the wrong data, and this is a wrong data. So we have to convert this data into this data somehow, and that you will learn in the stats class. Okay, but if to know whether the data is proper or not, we can plot something called as a distribution plot. That is dist plot. Okay, let's see if there's a one more parameter that we can play with. Let's see. No. Okay, so what you can do is you can remove that histogram that is behind the scene, guys. Okay, that histogram what is behind the scene, you can remove it by using hist equal to false. The histogram we don't want, we only want the bell curve. So this is what a bell curve looks like. Then there are different varieties of plot now. So SNS dot join plot. So you can join two plots at a time to get a more insight. For example, join plot x comma y and execute it. Joint. Okay, so this is a combination of a scatter plot plus the histogram plot. So that's why it is called as a joint plot. So joining of the two plots. So suppose, let's say if you want to know that at which area there was total bill, so you just take out this bigger histogram and you plot a lines. For example, you can just do something like this and just something like this, the straight line. And this area has a total number of bill paying people. Total maximum tips. So you can just plot a plot here like this. So this area of a line has the maximum number of people paying the total bills. So this is how you can use the joint plot to get the more information about the plots. And one of the very important plot, and that is SNS dot pair plot. Inside this pair plot, we can plot something called as iris. Okay, so what this will do is, let me plot first. Okay, now I have told you that we try to plot a scatter plot so that we can see that which two columns are directly proportional or inversely proportional to each other. So instead of plotting different plot between different combination of columns, what we can do is we can plot something called as pair plot. So this pair plot will automatically do the permutation and combination between all the plots automatically. So you don't have to write for every column. So see, on the x-axis you have column, and on the y-axis we have a column. So sepal length and petal width. So how they are related to each other. Sepal width and petal width, how they are related to each other. So if you see petal length, when the petal length increases, the petal width also increases. So petal length and petal width are directly proportional to each other. And now if you notice, we have as a diagonal, we have some histogram graphs. Why this is histogram? Because we have sepal length and sepal length. So both the columns are same. So obviously there is no point of plotting the points, right? So that's why they have given the histogram to us. Because see, sepal length, sepal width. Sorry, sepal width, petal length. So that's why the diagonal graph, if you see, it is a different graph, because for that we have x and y as the same column. But everything you can see is the combination of other columns. So pair plot is a graph which will tell you whether which all columns are related, which all columns are not related at one go. So you don't have to waste a time here. So this is what you call as pair plot, guys. Guys, clear in the chat box, please. Okay, so see, again, I'm saying plotting a graph is not a big task. Okay, how thinking is the important part here in the visualization. Okay, then again, if you want to save this graph, you can use plt.savefigure and you can save this. For example, plt.savefig, and you can give the figure name here. So let's say pair plot dot png, execute it and save it. Your work is done. Okay, your work is done. And this is all about Seaborn, guys. Okay, this is all about Seaborn. Now, in the weekdays, okay, in the weekdays, so if you want to practice more on this, okay, so what you can do is, so there is a Kaggle website which you can go to. So kaggle.com. So this kaggle.com is a website, or it's a social media site for a data scientist people. Okay, where you will get all lot of stuffs here. Okay, basically you get everything from here. Okay, for example, let's say you want to practice Seaborn. So what you can do is you type here Seaborn and just click here. So CRED for dealing with imbalanced data set, ML friendly public data set. Okay, this tutorial for reading. Okay, so this is what I want. Seaborn tutorial. So execute it. You will get a lot and lot of notebooks. So if you click on this person, for example. Okay, so if you scroll down, so this person will tell you that what are the different plots that you can plot. So there's something called as count plot. Okay, scroll more down and he will make you understand the different kinds of plot very beautifully now. Okay, so let's say you want to learn about COVID plots. Okay, so COVID is the thing which is trending nowadays, right? So COVID visualization. Okay, you click here, there will be a number of people who have done this. So COVID-19 analysis, visualization, and comparison. Click here. So why I'm saying this is you will get a lot and lot of idea that how to plot a graph and stuff like that, guys. Okay, so if you scroll down, so if you just expand this, this is the data that I have. If you expand this, this is the how the people have coded. Expand this is how the people have plot a map. Okay, so I think there is a rendering problem because of the net. Let's see. Okay, this is a rendering problem that is happening, so I cannot show the graphs here, but people have done a lot and lot of work here to draw a graph here. So let's click on this. See how beautifully graph they have drawn with the help of Seaborn or a Matplotlib. So when you practice, no, then only you will get a clear idea that what kind of graphs we can plot. Okay, so this is a place where you can practice a lot of things, guys. Kaggle.com. Okay, mark this website if you want. You will get a data set here. You can go for the competition also where you can earn a money. Data set, you can get a code also. Basically, you can get everything what you require. So if you click on data sets, so all the data sets what you want will be here. So wine quality data set, stellar classification data set, scientist donation to politician data set, and stuff like that. So a lot and lot. So if you are interested in Hollywood or Bollywood, we have a dataset for that also. Interested in Omnicom daily cases by country, we have that dataset also. Basically, if you're interested in stock prices, we have that dataset also. Basically, you will get all kind of dataset to practice of your interest, of your domain. So clear everyone about this data kaggle.com. So try to make an account and try to take advantage of this. You will get a lot and lot to learn from you guys. Okay, so your main Python class is over. So basically we have covered NumPy, we have covered pandas, we have covered Matplotlib, we have covered Seaborn. The only one session that is left, and that is the use case that we will cover in the next class. That is a
Afsan,
one session that we will have. Yes,
Afsan, are we going to cover regex?
yes, yes. So people who are from my batch, okay, so we will cover for after tomorrow's class. No, we will. So people who are from a different batch also, it's totally up to you. If you have done it, well and good. If you want to join again, you can join again. Okay, there's no problem in that. But for my batch, yes, after tomorrow's class, the next topic that we will take is the regex part. Regex and file handling. So 2 topics are left. So file handling, regex, we will cover that topic. So yes, we will be doing that, Sachin.
Okay, so in the regular classes, like in regular weekend classes, Saturday.
Yes, regular weekend classes. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So those who want to join from different batch, you can totally do it. Okay, there's nothing like that. Okay, so it's totally up to you. Okay, guys. So what I will do is I will stop here. I think there's a lot to practice in the weekend. Okay. So
Assignments, Afsan, assignments of NumPy pandas.
assignment of NumPy pandas, I have to make it. There's no assignment as such. Okay, I have to make it. Okay, once I make it and I will push it. I will let you know in the group. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Meanwhile, you can practice on this Kaggle. Okay, this Kaggle has a lot of pandas or NumPy or whatever you want. We have a lot of data set here. Okay, so yes,
Yes.
Yeah, Afsan, I had a question.
yes, Bhargav.
Can you go to the Jupyter notebook, please?
Yes, yes.
So here, like you are saving, you are writing the same saving function, save fig, inside this one cell. So this pair plot which you have done in the same cell is getting saved. But let's say that
Correct.
I'm executing using a Python file, and I'm doing multiple plots, but I want to save the last one only. So how will I say that, you know, particular plot needs to be saved, not all the ones?
So basically, then what you have to do is, then you have to call each function for each plot. Getting the point?
Sorry.
Then you have to call each function for each plot. Then you have to separate the plots with the functions. So this is what you have to do. Def plot. Okay, and this will be inside this. Okay, call this plot and then save it. Got the point now? So you have to do a functional plot if you're using main Python file.
Okay.
Okay, so suppose you are plotting 10 plots. So do one function for one plot, for example. So call that function and then save on that function. So that only that plot will be saved. So you have to do a functional plotting there in that area. Clear, Bhargav?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.